What is up, good people? Jungle Inc. here. Hope you're doing well. Pretty nasty day out there for crypto again. Bitcoin down about 3%, sitting at $63,052 at the time of this recording. Most things are in the red. Now, I did see optimism, the great optimism, up about 10% on the day. Yay for that. Phantoms up. Like, there's some sprinklings of green out there. But in general, a pretty sour day for crypto values. And where do we go from here? I'll turn to you and ask what you think, because this is a really odd time in the cycle. Of course, people are going to try to front run the halvening. We know that event is on the horizon. We had this big push from ETFs, all those Bitcoin ETFs that came ripping onto the market, bringing in a lot of volume on a daily basis. We saw a nice expansion of crypto values, but where does that leave us now? Again, pre-halvening, pretty early in the cycle. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm going to watch this develop, look for value to emerge, and just try to spot pick the best I can as I look for good opportunities. Because I really don't know in the short term where we go, just trying to set myself up the best for when this sucker really takes off and gets roaring, and it ain't going to stop. It's going to be quite wild. If that happens now, I don't know. If we take a little downturn before that happening and a big sell-off, we could see values really get smashed here. But if that happens, well, that's a great opportunity if you are a crypto investor. Those are the types of things we're looking for. Kyle Davies saying he's not sorry for the collapse of Three Arrows Capital. This scumbag, I get it. In business, sometimes you fail. Now, if I invest in something and it legitimately fails, like, what are you going to do about that? That's just part of business. That's the risk you take when you invest. This isn't a business that failed. They gambled investors' money away. They were reckless. And, how anyone would ever give them money again, I have no idea. We see Three Arrows Capital co-founder Kyle Davies appeared on a podcast and showed little remorse for his firm's creditors and said he plans to avoid spending any time in a Singapore prison. First of all, this obviously isn't the brightest guy. I know they thought he had all the algorithms and he knew his trading. What was he doing? He was just throwing people's money, loaded up there in USDT, just taking that Ponzi gains. Anyone can do that. When he really had to act and be smart, he couldn't do anything. It's not smart to go out publicly and say you're not sorry and you think it's funny and it's not a big deal that you caused the type of damage that 3AC did. The guy should be shutting up, staying out of the public eye, hoping they have, just too much to deal with the Do Kwons and the Mashinskis and the FTXs to deal with this idiot. Why he would go on YouTube, I have no idea, and this is sickening. Davies reiterated his lack of remorse for the collapse of 3AC and remained adamant that his professional reputation was still intact, despite receiving outsized backlash of his past misdeeds on social media. I mean, this guy didn't just harm the people that invested with him, that he gambled all their money away. He caused a lot of market turmoil. He damaged people that had nothing to do with them. Legitimate projects out there that were doing well and just got crushed because the whole market collapsed, and he played a part in it. It wasn't only 3AC, of course. It's the dimwits that shoveled money at them. Of course, it's also their fault, but they had a big part in that collapse, and it's a shame, and this guy should never be in charge of anyone else's capital again. Am I sorry for a company going bankrupt? No, companies go bankrupt all the time. First of all, I get it, and we see in business and all parts of life people fail, and then they have great comebacks, but not with that kind of attitude. Like, who would trust you with their money if you just throw it all away and you're like, oh, well, we'll get them on the next round? Like, that should anger you. You should want to do better the next time. Like, learn from your mistakes. This guy is just like, no big deal, man. And of course, because it wasn't his money, he threw down the tubes. Now, this is a big story. BlackRock begins asset tokenization with launch of digital liquidity fund. Really interesting story here. The world's largest asset manager has taken the next step forward towards a single ledger, instantaneous settlement, and ending illicit activities. And of course, they would be in charge of all this value in this ledger and this system. BlackRock has filed a United States Securities and Exchange Commission Form D for the BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund. This marks the launch of BlackRock's first tokenized asset fund. So we've been hearing about this, the tokenization of assets. We've talked about it forever. This is really the next step forward. You're going to have 24/7, 365 trading of stocks and real estate interests and precious metals. They're going to tokenize everything. As part of that, you own nothing and you be happy. Your real estate is your renting, all that cash flows. will go to these tokenized owners as they just chop up the whole world in these sickening ETFs that are on the blockchain. It's really a dystopian future, to be honest with you. The fund will have 100,000 minimum investment, so they don't let any of the peasants get involved in this. And the fund will be tokenized, of course, on the Ethereum blockchain with an ERC20 token called Buddle. I don't know what the hell that means. But anyway, they're going all in on Ethereum. That's what they're going to use to tokenize assets. It really makes me think, if you look at the original vision of Ripple Pay before Ripple got involved, it was about tokenizing value. And initially when Ripple started, building on the XRP ledger, it wasn't so much about XRP, the token, but using the capabilities to put any sort of value in that ledger and use it in a useful way. And I think they got kind of sidetracked when XRP went from 0.6 of a cent to $3.80, and everything had to be just XRP, and that's the only asset you're using. And I think they missed a big opportunity. They need to pivot back, use the ledger for its capabilities, and just like Ethereum, as you do novel things on Ethereum, people don't worry, oh no, you're using the Aave token or the Link token or any of this stuff. It makes the base currency on Ethereum more valuable. The same thing will happen on XRP. If we really leverage that capability to do important tasks, and it's great, it is world-class at tokenizing assets. I hope Ripple and other builders take that serious, because they're leaving a lot on the table here, and I think they can contend, but they really have to pivot and hit it hard and make sure they are using the ledger to its fullest capability, not just sending XRP around to different wallets. This was built from day one to tokenize all sorts of value and use it in a really low cost, fast, and efficient manner. And we really need to see them build out that capability and have useful tools to do so, because this is the future. Tokenizing value, again, whether it's a stock, a precious metal, a real estate, whatever it is, that's going to be on the blockchain, tokenized, trading 365 around the clock globally. And, we really need to leverage that in a big way. Now, is this some great thing that BlackRock's going to do this? Well, you know what they're doing with this. It's going to be some ERC20 token that, of course, they can freeze at will, and they'll probably control the keys anyway. So it goes against the ethos of blockchain, of course, but still interesting to see such a massive company trying to use this technology to build the future. And it really goes that idea of tokenizing and of ETFs. They want to just ETF everything. And, we'll see. I'm sure they'll be successful, unfortunately, to some degree. Michael Saylor, what was his biggest mistake here? This is an interesting article. I don't agree with exactly what they're saying. Two things. Number one, Saylor frequently buys Bitcoin at peak prices, which is true. Usually when you see, Saylor throwing all his chips in the pot here, it's usually towards the top. Interesting that happens. A behavior often termed FOMO, or fear of missing out. I'm going to hate on him for that. I mean, he's a long-term investor. I would spread those buys out a little bit, but still, if he's not trading it, probably will work out good. Number two, they attribute his mistakes to failing to diversify his portfolio. Instead of focusing solely on Bitcoin, he should be looking at other cryptos. For an institutional buyer, really, Bitcoin is the appropriate choice at this point in time to enter the crypto space. I don't really think those are his two biggest problems. I think his problem, and people tell me I'm wrong, and interest is low, and all of this kind of stuff, using too much leverage. You got to be built for bear. Times get hard out of nowhere. You can have downturns. And I don't care what anyone tells me, this guy's taking on too much debt. He's taking on debt to buy a volatile asset. And I really don't think long term this is going to work out, because eventually, may not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but he continues doing this, his riverboat gambling, it's going to nail him. I'm telling you, you can't do this. You can't use massive leverage to YOLO yourself through the gates of Valhalla. Eventually, you're going to run into a big problem, and he's asking for issues here. I get it. I'm happy he's going all into cryptocurrencies as well, and he's one of the first big institutions to do so, and he's done well to date, but he cannot continue to use so much leverage. It will bite him in a big way, and it's going to affect all of crypto, because people are going to look at that and say, see, it was unsafe. And you had this big institution that people use it as a gateway to invest in cryptocurrencies. And there's nothing unsafe about Bitcoin. It's just, no matter what you're doing, if you're using too much leverage, it's not a good idea. You are gambling. He's a riverboat gambler in a lot of ways. It's great he's a visionary, but I'm telling you, he's using too much leverage. Ethereum ETFs likely won't get approved in May, says Bloomberg. So we've heard this many times. And when you compare it to what we saw with the Bitcoin ETFs, where they were talking with the SEC on a daily basis almost, really fine-tuning that sucker, with the Ethereum ETF, it's silence. The only thing that makes me say, I don't know, maybe this goes through is the fact that, again, BlackRock, they have some big plans here, right? And we know they want that Ethereum ETF, and they want to use the Ethereum blockchain to enslave the world and, all this kind of stuff. Maybe it goes through. At this point in time, it's not looking great, but, we'll see it develop. If it doesn't go through now, it will. It's only a matter of time. Last thing I want to bring up, because we hear a lot about AI, quantum computing, is this a big risk for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies? And of course, quantum computing is a risk long-term for all, computer systems. And you'll have anti-quantum computing resistant systems, things like that they're also trying to build. But this is the deal. If you had a quantum computer and you had that capability, or you had something like QStar that was rumored that OpenAI had developed, where the computer was using some novel alien almost algorithms to crack through stuff, the first thing you would attack is probably not a very illiquid asset. That the moment you steal it, it would be nigh worthless because the market would just crumble down. There's many more, I think, valuable attack vectors. So is Bitcoin and crypto at the most trouble? Probably not. Again, because it is such an illiquid market and it does have a low market cap. And if you had anything like that, its value would just tumble and you just wasted that attack for almost nothing. I think they would go after, financial networks and military stuff. And there's a lot more valuable stuff in my mind than going after cryptocurrencies. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.